All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. So, the worst kept secret in the National Football League is officially out for all of us, and that is that quarterback Aaron Rodgers will be joining the Pittsburgh Steelers. The announcement ends much speculation as to whether or not that the Hall of Fame quarterback would join the Steelers or whether or not that he was going to retire. Now, this is going to be Rodgers' third team in the last 4 years, is after a pair of tumultuous seasons with the New York Jets. Rodgers is looking to revive his career, more than likely finish his career in the Steel City. Now, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, will bringing in Aaron Rodgers be worth the wait and the risk? Okay, I ask this for several reasons. Number one, because we've seen all of the quarterbacks that were out there in free agency this offseason. They've got teams. They've had their press conferences back in the early portion of the spring. They've joined these new teams. They're getting acclimated with the coaches. They're getting acclimated with their new teammates. They're out there in OTAs. And of course, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is just simply being Aaron Rodgers. Okay. So, will Aaron Rodgers' diva like personality work in Pittsburgh? And I am here to say no. Okay. Aaron Rodgers, and I talked about this before he went to the Jets. Aaron Rodgers was accustomed to being a big fish in a small pond in Green Bay. He could dictate things there until Green Bay finally got tired of him. Okay, a la Brett Favre before him. Aaron Rodgers went to the New York Jets, the biggest media market in the National Football League. And of course, there they can care less about your past accolades in Green Bay. And I got news for you. The folks in Pittsburgh are just like that because when you're talking about the Steelers, no NFL franchise has won more championships than the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are tied with the New England Patriots with 6 Lombardi trophies. Okay. Uh, their quarterbacks have always stepped up for the most part. And, it's one of those where they've been they've done things for the team. Okay. And Aaron Rodgers, for all of his great accolades, he has a Super Bowl MVP on his resume, 4-time NFL MVP. He's been too much of a me guy. That's not going to work in Pittsburgh. Okay. His diva attitude is not going to work in a blue collar city like Pittsburgh. That's just my 2 cents on it. We've seen an overhaul for the Steelers offense this season. Both of their quarterbacks who saw the most time last year gone. Russell Wilson is with the Giants, while Justin Fields is with the Jets. We saw wide receiver George Pickens get traded to Dallas. And of course, running back Najee Harris, who led the Steelers in rushing for the past couple of years, he left in free agency to join the Chargers. Okay, we saw the Steelers make that trade to go out there and bring in veteran wide receiver DK Metcalf from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And finally, now you're giving him somebody to throw the football or to throw the football to him in Aaron Rodgers. But like I said, I am not of the category of being optimistic about this working out for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the fashion that the Pittsburgh Steelers needed to work out. Did Pittsburgh need to upgrade the quarterback position? Yes, but you can also make a case and say, hey, maybe they should have brought Justin Fields back. To me, you look at Aaron Rodgers, and of course, Aaron Rodgers is not going to be the Aaron Rodgers that we saw in the prime of his career with Green Bay. Of course, we all know what happened at the beginning of the 2023 season for Aaron Rodgers with the Jets. First drive of the game, he tore his Achilles, and that was it. Came back last year. The Jets went 5-12 with him at quarterback. Is one of those where he put up almost 4,000 passing yards, but a lot of that was Aaron Rodgers being Aaron Rodgers. And the thing was, you put up some numbers at some points, but guess what? You were 5-12. And of course, the new Jets regime was willing to bring him back if he was going to be more team oriented. That was not the case. New Jets head coach Aaron Glenn, said thanks for coming, but you know what? We're going in a different direction. I look at the Steelers like this. They were willing to be patient on Aaron Rodgers as they felt that he was going to be there. And honestly, I really do think behind the scenes, this was going to happen because if you're the Steelers, you had too many opportunities to go out there and get a quarterback early on in the NFL draft. I know that they took Ohio State quarterback Will Howard in the 6th round, but they had multiple opportunities to get themselves one of these young quarterbacks early in the draft. Didn't do it. Really didn't focus on anybody else in free agency. And I'm just not sure. I am not convinced that player and team are right for each other in regards to Aaron Rodgers joining the Steelers. The Steelers need themselves a leader at quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback, but he is not a leader of men. And that is what the Pittsburgh Steelers need. Okay. One reason, in my opinion, for the struggles with the Jets off last year at times, Aaron Rodgers was non-existent for OTAs. Okay, and that is a big thing right there. As a quarterback in the NFL, you need that chemistry. You need that timing with your wideouts. You need that chemistry with your offensive line. You need that chemistry with your backs. Okay, and if you're getting that from a guy who you expect to be a leader and he's not a leader, well, guess what? The results are going to show up on Sunday afternoons in the fall. Okay, so I think this move right here screamed of desperation for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm really not sure that it's going to work. I'm really not convinced that Aaron Rodgers goes out there and makes this Pittsburgh team better. You look at the Pittsburgh passing attack, one of the worst in the NFL last season, and of course, just because their passing attack was near the bottom doesn't mean that they can't be successful. We saw the Steelers make the playoffs last year. The Eagles didn't have a great passing yardage per game per se average, but nonetheless, they are the defending Super Bowl champions now. But this Pittsburgh offense, they need themselves a leader. And like I said before, A-Rod ain't it. So with that all being said and done, is this going to be a make or break year for Mike Tomlin, the Steelers head coach? The Steelers organization does not fire head coaches. All right. It's one of those where Mike Tomlin has been the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers since 2007. And of course, in 2008, he had the privilege of leading this team to their 6th Super Bowl championship, got them back to the Super Bowl in 2010, where they lost to Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. And it's hard to believe, but not since the divisional round in the 2016 playoffs have the Steelers won a playoff game. They've gotten there in 4 out of the last 5 years. They've been one and done. And you really don't associate a playoff drought as far as wins with the Pittsburgh Steelers and this current the regime for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But nonetheless, this is where we are at. So I'm really not sure if the arrival of Aaron Rodgers really changes a lot because of his skills right now at this point in his career and also his mindset for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Those to me are the biggest things. I think Rodgers is going to be somewhat motivated um, to not have his career finish on the same on the note like it did last year with the New York Jets. And of course, there were some people who were holding out hope, jokingly, that Aaron Rodgers' career would resemble that of Brett Favre. We saw Brett Favre play the bulk of his career in Green Bay, got traded to the Jets, played there for a year, and then he went to the Minnesota Vikings, which was the last team of his career. I don't think that trajectory was going to work out for Aaron Rodgers first and foremost. You think about the success that Brett Favre had in his first year in Minnesota back in 2009, helped the Vikings get to the championship game. One thing for Favre that year, he was coming off of an injury towards the end of his Jets time. He wanted to, get that out of his system. And then on top of that, he was playing in a system that was comfortable for him with Brad Childress, and he wanted to go to the Minnesota Vikings. I think things are a lot different for Aaron Rodgers right now, and I simply just don't see this working out. It's kind of like oil and water. And I think there's too many combustible situations for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, in my opinion, to make this work. It's one of those also, Pittsburgh's got to get things smoothed out with all pro outside linebacker TJ Watt. And I think they will. You know, it's one of those where Pittsburgh usually takes care of their guys, and TJ Watt is one of the greatest Steelers of all time. And Watt is the franchise's all-time leader in sacks as well. I think they're going to get a deal done. Some people might say, well, this is probably going to be the best opportunity for Watt and a veteran like Cam Hayward to get a championship. I'm not sure about that because I really just don't see Aaron Rodgers coming in there and giving the Steelers what they need, especially that leader at quarterback. Well, I'll tell you like this. I think, and I'm not in Pittsburgh, looking to see how things go up there. The tenor I get from a lot of Steelers fans, they didn't want Aaron Rodgers. So if the Steelers start off slow and Aaron Rodgers ain't playing good, I guarantee you, the Boo Birds are going to be out at Heinz Field or whatever they're calling it right now. But nonetheless, I think the Steelers are rolling the dice here. Just my 2 cents. I think the Steelers could be good enough to make the playoffs with Aaron Rodgers, but I think they're right back to square one. I just don't see A-Rod coming in and being able to make the impact on offense, the impact within this locker room that the Pittsburgh Steelers need him to make. Maybe Aaron Rodgers from 10 years ago with the skill set, yeah, you could get away with it. But a guy who has surpassed a year of 40, an Achilles injury from 2 years ago, and of course, he has the arm to deal with the cold weather. Did it for so many years in Green Bay, but at the end of the day, like I said before, not trying to sound like a broken record, the Pittsburgh Steelers need themselves a leader. Okay, you think about when Peyton Manning, was released by the Colts and joined the Broncos. Peyton Manning, became I can't even say became, but he had that respect as soon as he walked into that Denver locker room for what he has meant to the NFL and the leadership capabilities that he had. And everybody, offense and defense, stood up and straightened out the chest, if you know what I mean, when Peyton Manning came there. Even the fans, because you think about it in Denver, whether it was in Vesco Field or previously Mile High Stadium, you think about how raucous the fans were there. Peyton Manning wanted quiet on offense, and you could hear a pin drop. And that's one of the loudest stadiums in the National Football League. And, I think back to when Tom Brady, left the Patriots and joined the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And of course, some people for years called the Buccaneers the Succaneers. Okay. And things got turned around very quickly there. There was a respect. Everybody fell in line when Tom Brady walked into the door. Why? Because those guys that I just mentioned expected greatness, not only from themselves, but from their teammates. And they worked their tails off and they led by example. Aaron Rodgers finger points. Aaron Rodgers deflects blame. Okay, that's why I don't see this working with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Lord Anden for what's going on. I hope things are well for you on this Friday evening, to you and yours. But definitely, with Aaron Rodgers, he doesn't assume responsibility, and I think that is something. It's played out throughout his career. Uh, like I said, big fish in a smaller pond in Green Bay. Pittsburgh is like not a big market. I get it, but they have a football history. Okay, they have expectations for their football team and what they're going to do. They have expectations for their quarterback. So I just simply don't see it working out to that championship level, at least for A Rod in Pittsburgh. Just my 2 cents. But nonetheless, let's see how things work out for the new number 8, because the good and doggone well, just like it was with the Jets, number 12 was retired for Joe Willie Namath. Number 12 is not officially retired for Terry Bradshaw, but it has not been in circulation. And we all heard the recent comments from the original TB12 in regards to Aaron Rodgers from a couple of weeks ago. So I don't think he's going to be extending that olive branch anytime soon to allow Aaron Rodgers to wear his number 12. So I think just like it was with the Jets, Aaron Rodgers will be wearing his college number from the University of California, number 8 for the black and gold. You're saying Rodgers wants to prove a point. I definitely do, because I don't think that he wants his career to end on the note that it did last year. I totally understand that. I mean, it's 5-12. The Jets, the Jets were a disaster, and some of that falls into the lap of Aaron Rodgers. That team bent over backwards to get him, and it wasn't long after that. You could see the writing on the wall, and of course, Robert Saleh was fired as Jets head coach, and it went down from there. And there was no leadership on that team. Okay, and again, the Steelers need this guy to come in and be a leader, but at the end of the day, he's not. Okay, it's just simply not in his DNA. So it's not a matter of if; it's more like a matter of when this blows up in the Steelers' faces. And guys like me are just going to sit back and say, "Hey, I told you so." But like I said, I am not going out of my way um, to get any Steelers Super Bowl paraphernalia, if you will, for the upcoming season for next February. Maybe they get into the playoffs, maybe, but I think, like I said, the Steelers are going to be right back where they were, up and down. They'll have their moments. Maybe they squeak into the playoffs, and they're going to be one of the first teams, more than likely, going home next season. And I think at the end of the day, I truly think this is it for Aaron Rodgers. I think he wants to try to go out there and finish on a positive note, but I'm not holding my breath. That's just my 2 cents. But folks, that's going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 pounds of sports knowledge here on this Friday night on YouTube. Lord and for definitely, as always, I appreciate you chiming in. I hope you got to see, just switching gears here, I hope you got to see game one last night of the NBA Finals. I said personally that I thought this is going to be an underrated NBA Finals, an underappreciated NBA Finals, because it's two small market teams, but I still think we're going to get some great basketball. And I think last night's thriller and the comeback by Indiana, in my opinion, is just going to be the tip of the iceberg in that. And I think this is going to be a great series. That's just my thoughts. But as always, if you like what you heard and saw on this podcast, please feel free to hit that like button, as well as subscribing to this channel. Like I always say, it is greatly appreciated. Also, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 pounds of sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out. Drop a line to be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, and I'm saying thanks once again for tuning into the 300 pounds of sports knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.